we would like to introduce Dr. Brian Josephson, who corrected me by saying Professor Josephson, who has received the Nobel Prize in 1973, I believe, and is now at Cambridge, arranged a special chair for him at Cambridge, and it's really a great honor to have him speak now on quantum mechanics and thermodynamics. Dr. Josephson. Thank you, Joe.
Well, just want to talk briefly about two subjects which have relevance to what's going on in Transcendental Meditation. The first of these is quantum mechanics, and this subject, which developed in the 1920s, is, I think, very significant in that people realized for the first time that it was necessary to take into account consciousness to describe nature. Before that time, it was thought that one could have a purely objective picture of nature. There are these things moving here, and what we do doesn't influence them. But in quantum mechanics, it was recognized that when we make an observation, we always disturb the system, and the consciousness of the observer seems to be something we have to take into consideration. In fact, physicists have tried to leave consciousness out as much as possible. There's just an impersonal apparatus which measures things, but I think sometime we must have to go to a deeper consideration and consider the role of consciousness. And in any case, it's clear in ourselves that how we feel about what goes on is a matter of ourselves as well as the world we're looking at, and in some way we must try and unite all these approaches, and perhaps the insights obtained through Transcendental Meditation may be able to help us here. So much for quantum mechanics. Now, let me go on to thermodynamics. One of the, well, there are two important things in thermodynamics, energy and entropy. And you're all familiar with energy. Let me say a little bit about entropy. Entropy is the concept of order. When a system becomes more ordered, in the language of thermodynamics, its entropy becomes less. And in the world of a physicist, order gets less and less, things become more and more disordered, entropy increases. But there are other systems besides those dealt with by the physicists. There are living systems, and the scientist Prigogine has spent a lot of time trying to understand how thermodynamics can be applied to living systems. It's clear, at any rate, that living systems have the ability to stop disorder and to reverse this process. As a living system goes about living, there are forces all around it which tend to introduce disorder, and yet living systems have the ability to reverse this process in some way. It may simply be something a little bit like a refrigerator. If you have something, well, a refrigerator is one way of reducing temperature and increasing order. In the same way, something analogous. And Transcendental Meditation may be the process we have for introducing order into our thinking, some systematic kind of refrigerator. I'll stop there, having dealt with those two subjects.
More order when we are able to operate from the more basic levels. In Transcendental Meditation, what we do is we leave the mind to its own nature. It's the nature of the mind to move in the direction of greater happiness, and more happiness is experienced in the on the levels of greater order. So when the activity of the mind during meditation becomes less and less, then the nature of the mind reaches more and more fundamental value. And when the mind reaches more and more fundamental value of its own nature, then this is what we say, that the mind is more and more orderly. So the order increasing through Transcendental Meditation is a phenomenon like the one in thermodynamics,